Have you ever wondered what you would do if saving one stranger meant risking everything you had left? What if one radio call could bring back a past that the military wanted everyone to forget? Heavy rain covered Falcon Air Base long before midnight. The runway lights reflected across the wet concrete while cold wind pushed dark clouds over the Atlantic Ocean. Mechanics hurried around transport aircraft, loaders secured emergency cargo, and every crew member worked against time. Inside Hangar 12, a large military cargo aircraft waited quietly. Its engines were still silent. Its cargo door remained open. Rows of insulated medical containers stood locked to heavy pallets. Every box carried blood products, surgical equipment, ventilators, and emergency medicine that doctors were waiting for hundreds of miles away. This was not ordinary cargo. Someone's life depended on it. Standing beneath the left wing was Major Elena Carter. Most people believed she had spent her entire military career flying transport aircraft. Very few knew the truth. Elena slowly walked around the aircraft carrying a flashlight. She checked every tire, every hydraulic pipe, every landing gear door, every access panel. Maintenance crews had already signed every inspection report. But Elena trusted her own eyes more than paperwork. She gently touched one metal panel before moving forward. Behind her came First Lieutenant Nathan Brooks, the young co-pilot assigned to fly with her. Rain soaked his jacket within seconds. "Ma'am," he called. The maintenance team already inspected everything. Elena never stopped walking. "I know. So, why are we checking again?" She looked at him only briefly. "Because sometimes machines whisper before they scream." Nathan smiled. He thought she was joking. She wasn't. Years in military aviation had taught Elena something simple. Aircraft rarely failed without warning. People simply ignored the warning signs. Nathan followed quietly. He had flown with Elena for only 6 months. She wasn't rude. She wasn't unfriendly. She simply spoke only when words mattered. Many younger pilots thought she worried too much. The older pilots trusted her with their lives. Inside the aircraft, Captain Maya Collins, the flight medical officer, checked every temperature monitor attached to the medical containers. Each display showed perfect readings. Blood, plasma, portable ventilator, trauma kits. Every item inside the cargo hold represented another family praying for good news. Nearby, Staff Sergeant Ethan Reed tightened another heavy cargo chain. He leaned backward with all his weight until the chain locked firmly into place. Pallet number 6 secured. Maya looked up. "Double-check the rear restraints." Ethan laughed. "I already checked them." "Then check them again." He smiled. "You sound like Major Carter." Maya answered calmly. "That's probably why we're still alive." A few minutes later, Elena entered the cargo compartment. She slowly examined every restraint herself. Nothing escaped her attention. She pushed one container gently. No movement. She checked another. Perfect. Maya watched her. "You expecting bad weather?" "The weather always deserves respect." "Forecast says we'll be fine." "Forecasts don't fly airplanes." Maya nodded. She understood exactly what Elena meant. Forecasts guessed. Pilots survived by preparing for everything. Ethan closed the massive cargo ramp. The outside world disappeared. The sound of rain became softer inside the aircraft. The cabin lights glowed across gray metal walls. Nathan climbed toward the cockpit carrying the flight paperwork. Elena followed. The cockpit smelled exactly like every military aircraft. Warm electronics, hydraulic oil, canvas, coffee that had been sitting too long. Nathan settled into the right seat while Elena placed her flight bag behind her chair. As she turned, something slipped from one side pocket. A small black cloth patch. Nathan noticed it immediately. A silver falcon was stitched above a crescent moon. One word appeared beneath it. Shadow. Before Nathan could study it further, Elena quietly picked it up and placed it back into her bag. He hesitated. "Old squadron?" She paused. "Long ago. Fighters." She looked straight ahead. "Checklist." Nathan immediately understood. The conversation was over. He opened the startup checklist. Battery power. On. External power. Connected. One by one the cockpit came alive. Screens illuminated. Navigation systems loaded. Fuel numbers appeared. Weather radar slowly painted a storm spreading across the eastern coastline. Nathan frowned. The storm looks larger than the forecast. Elena studied the radar silently. After several seconds she spoke. It has moved faster. Nathan zoomed in. The route still clears it. For now. He looked again. We have nearly 30 miles. Elena shook her head slightly. Not by the time we get there. She had seen enough storms to recognize when one was changing. Experience sometimes noticed danger long before computers did. Outside the cockpit window, a ground crew chief raised his flashlight. Engine start. Elena nodded. She reached forward. Engine 1 slowly began turning. The deep rumble echoed through the aircraft. Seconds later, another engine started. Then another. Then the fourth. The entire cargo plane came alive beneath them. Nathan loved that moment. The vibration. The power. The feeling that thousands of pieces suddenly became one living machine. Ground control cleared them for taxi. The giant aircraft rolled slowly toward the runway. Rain streaked across the windshield. Airport lights blurred behind water. Nathan reviewed the flight route. For hours. Mostly over the Atlantic. Routine. At least that was what everyone believed. As they reached the runway threshold, Nathan looked toward Elena. You ever miss flying something faster? She kept her eyes ahead. What makes you think I flew anything faster? The patch. People collect patches. The way you inspect airplanes. Cargo pilots inspect airplanes. The way you watch weather. She almost smiled. And fighter pilots? They look at storms like they want to win an argument. For the first time that night, the corner of Elena's mouth moved. Barely. Then the moment disappeared. She pushed the throttles forward. The engines roared. The aircraft accelerated down the runway. Rain sprayed behind them. The runway lights rushed beneath the cockpit. Heavy medical cargo pressed against the floor. Nathan called the airspeed. 100 knots. Elena continued. Rotate. The nose lifted. Seconds later, the massive aircraft left the ground. The city lights fell away beneath them. They climbed into dark clouds. Turbulence greeted them almost immediately. The aircraft shook heavily. Nathan tightened his shoulder harness. Elena barely moved the controls. Every correction was small, gentle, precise. She never fought the airplane. She worked with it. Within minutes, they climbed above the roughest layer. The ride became smoother. Autopilot engaged. The engines settled into a steady rhythm. Behind them, Maya checked every medical container once more. Ethan inspected every chain again. Everything looked perfect. Everything felt routine. Outside the windshield, there was only darkness. No heraisen. No mon. Only black sky blending into black ocean somewhere below. Nathan poured coffee from a metal thermos. Coffee? Elena shook her head. You never drink coffee. I drink good coffee. This isn't. It came from base. Nathan laughed quietly. Fair point. Silence returned. Long military flights often sounded exactly like this. Engines. Occasional radio calls. Nothing else. After several minutes, Nathan couldn't help himself. So. Elena kept watching the instruments. So. What happened? She didn't answer. Nathan tried again. Most pilots don't leave fighters unless something serious happens. Elena stared through the windshield. You're asking the wrong question. What was the right one? Who said I left? Nathan looked confused. Before he could ask anything else, the cockpit door opened. Maya entered carrying 2 cups. She handed one to Nathan. He took a careful sip. This tastes better. It should. I made it. She sat behind them. Weather. Elena pointed toward the radar. The storm keeps growing. Enough to divert? Maybe. Nathan checked again. Still looks manageable. Elena answered quietly. So did the last one. Nobody asked what she meant. The aircraft continued north across the Atlantic. Far below, waves crashed unseen beneath layers of darkness. Everything appeared peaceful. Until the emergency frequency suddenly exploded with static. A burst of interference filled every headset. Nathan looked toward the radio. Probably atmospheric noise. Then it happened again. Longer this time. Elena reached for the volume control. Static. Heavy breathing. Then one single word. Mayday. The cockpit instantly became silent. Nathan froze. Another burst followed. Mayday. Engine. The transmission disappeared. Elena immediately disconnected the autopilot. Nathan opened emergency navigation pages. Maya leaned forward. The voice returned. Weak. Broken. Fire. Losing control. Elena pressed the microphone. Unknown aircraft. This is Atlas 41. State your position. Only static answered. Then, very slowly, a set of coordinates. Nathan typed them into the navigation computer. His face changed. They're 70 miles east. Elena looked at the display. A tiny symbol blinked over the Atlantic. Far from any rescue base. Far from any airport. Far from help. She slowly wrapped both hands around the controls. Without saying another word, she turned the aircraft toward the unknown pilot. Elena kept the aircraft turning toward the emergency signal, while rain continued striking the windshield. Nathan stared at the navigation display. Major. Air traffic control hasn't approved this turn. I know. They'll call us any second. I know. What should I tell them? The truth. Nathan took a slow breath before contacting the controller. Atlantic Control. This is Atlas 41. We are responding to an emergency distress call and diverting east. Only 2 seconds passed before the reply came back. Atlas 41. Return immediately to your assigned route. Military rescue units are already being dispatched. Nathan looked at Elena. They're telling us to turn back. Elena kept flying. Asked their estimated rescue time. Nathan relayed the question. Another pause. Finally. Estimated arrival. 34 minutes. Nathan slowly lowered his headset microphone. The fighter won't stay in the air that long. No. So what do we do? Elena answered without hesitation. We keep flying. The cargo aircraft continued changing course. The emergency marker grew slightly closer on the navigation screen. Maya quietly listened to every word. She finally spoke. If he's injured, 34 minutes is already too late. Nathan looked between both women. Neither seemed interested in debating the decision. They had already made it. Inside the damaged fighter jet, Captain Liam Walker struggled to keep his eyes open. Smoke had almost disappeared, but the cockpit smelled like burned wiring. Warning lights covered nearly every display. Half the screens were already black. His right hand gripped the control stick. His left arm barely responded. Every breath hurt. Blood slowly trickled from one corner of his mouth. He tried speaking again. Mayday. His voice sounded weaker than before. Atlas. If you hear me. Static swallowed half his sentence. Then Elena's calm voice answered. We hear you clearly. For the first time since the engine failed. Liam wasn't alone. Tell me your altitude, Elena asked. He glanced down. About 7,000. Nathan frowned while reading the emergency transponder. The signal says 6,300. Elena understood immediately. Either the instruments or the pilot were beginning to fail. She spoke again. Liam. Don't worry about exact numbers. Just answer slowly. Copy. What happened? Engine exploded. Electrical failures. Hydraulic pressure dropping. Nathan quickly searched emergency aircraft data. If it's the same engine failure, control response will become slower every minute. Elena nodded. I know. Liam coughed violently. Maya immediately leaned toward her microphone. Liam. This is Captain Maya Collins. Medical? Yes. I'm glad someone smarter joined. Even exhausted. He still tried to joke. Maya smiled softly. I need you to answer honestly. I'll try. Did you hit your head? I don't remember. Did you lose consciousness? I don't know. Maya quietly wrote several notes. Possible concussion. Possible smoke inhalation. Possible internal injuries. None of them were good. Outside. Lightning flashed across distant clouds. The storm continued spreading. Nathan enlarged the weather radar. It's getting worse. Elena studied the display. We'll go around the strongest cells. That adds several minutes. It also keeps us alive. Nathan immediately adjusted the route. Liam. Maya continued. Can you move both legs? Yes. Both hands. My right. And your left? Not much. She looked toward Elena. Possible shoulder trauma. Maybe nerve damage. Elena asked another question. Can you eject? Silence. Then. I don't trust it. What do you mean? The canopy warning never cleared. Nathan understood instantly. If he pulls the ejection handle before the canopy separates. Nobody finished the sentence. Everyone knew. The seat would launch him directly into solid glass. It would almost certainly kill him. Elena's expression never changed. Don't eject. Glad we agree. You stay with the airplane. As long as it stays with me. The cargo aircraft entered another layer of cloud. Heavy turbulence slammed into the wings. The entire airplane shuddered. Warning chimes sounded briefly before disappearing. Nathan instinctively grabbed the dashboard. Elena barely moved. Small corrections. Tiny inputs. Steady breathing. Experience always looked calmer than confidence. Back inside the cargo compartment. Ethan checked every restraint again. One medical pallet shifted almost half an inch. He tightened another chain immediately. The insulated blood containers remained secure. He contacted the cockpit. Cargo secure. Good, Elena replied. Keep checking. You expecting worse? I always expect worse. Nathan checked fuel calculations. If we continue this diversion. He hesitated. We'll lose our original landing reserve. Elena already knew. Update the numbers. He entered new calculations. The computer displayed another warning. Reserve fuel decreasing. Alternate airport uncertain. Storm movement increasing. Nothing looked encouraging. Meanwhile, Liam's breathing became louder over the radio. Maya noticed immediately. Liam. Yeah. I want you to slow your breathing. I'm trying. No. She answered gently. I need you to actually slow it. He tried. One breath. Then another. Still too fast. Maya began counting. 2, 3. Out. 2, 3. He matched her rhythm. After several breaths. His heartbeat slowly settled. Nathan looked back. How did you know? I could hear panic. You can hear that. I've heard it hundreds of times. The navigation display beeped again. Distance. 38 miles. Closing fast. Elena contacted Liam once more. Liam. Still here. Can you see the ocean? No. Clouds. Nothing but gray. Good. He sounded confused. Good. If you can't see the ocean, you won't accidentally chase it. Nathan immediately understood. Night over water created dangerous illusions. Pilots often believed they were level when they were actually diving. Liam. Trust only your instruments. I've already lost half of them. Then trust the ones you still have. Lightning flashed again. Closer this time. Nathan looked toward the radar. The storm's moving directly across us. We'll stay beneath the worst section. That puts us lower. I know. Too low. We'll decide that later. Air traffic control returned. Atlas 4-1. You are entering restricted military airspace. Turn immediately. Nathan looked uncertain. They sound serious. Elena answered herself. Unable. Atlas 4-1 acknowledge. We are responding to an active Mayday. You are carrying priority medical cargo. Elena looked briefly toward the sealed medical containers behind them. She understood exactly what they meant. Someone else. Far away. Needed that cargo to survive. One unseen patient waited inside an operating room. Another pilot was falling toward the Atlantic. Both lives mattered. Only one could be reached first. Nathan quietly asked. What if delaying the cargo costs another life? Elena stayed silent for several seconds. Finally she answered. Then I'll carry both decisions. Nobody spoke after that. The cockpit became completely silent. Only engines. And the emergency radio filled the darkness. Then Liam's voice returned. Much weaker now. I think. Everyone leaned forward. I think I'm getting sleepy. Maya immediately pressed the microphone. No. I'm just tired. Liam. Her voice became firm. I need you to stay awake. He tried laughing. It sounded more like coughing. I'll do my best. Maya quickly searched for something stronger than medical instructions. Liam. Yes. Do you have family? A long pause. My daughter. What's her name? Emma. How old is Emma? 7. Maya smiled softly. Good. A few seconds later she asked again. Liam. How old is Emma? He answered immediately. 7. Perfect. Nathan looked confused. Maya quietly whispered. As long as he remembers that. I know he's still fighting. The aircraft continued racing toward the unknown darkness ahead. And somewhere beyond the storm. A dying fighter pilot waited for the only aircraft close enough to reach him. The cargo aircraft continued pushing east through the storm. Every passing minute reduced the distance between Elena and the damaged fighter. Every passing minute also reduced Liam's chances of surviving. Nathan kept watching the emergency marker. 29 miles. Elena nodded. Keep updating. Outside, lightning flashed across the clouds. The cockpit glowed white for only a second before darkness returned. Rain hammered against the windshield. The aircraft shook again. This time much harder. Nathan grabbed the side of his seat. Turbulence is increasing. Elena remained calm. Reduce speed slightly. Nathan adjusted the power settings. The aircraft settled. Not smoothly, but enough. Back inside the fighter jet. Liam struggled to stay focused. Half his instrument panel had already gone dark. Smoke stains covered the inside of the canopy. The emergency oxygen system hissed quietly beside him. His breathing sounded louder now. Every inhale burned. Every exhale hurt even more. He looked outside. Nothing. No stars. No moon. Only darkness. He whispered into the radio. I still can't see anything. Elena answered immediately. You don't need to. I'd feel better if I could. I know. A long silence followed. Then she added quietly, trust my voice. Liam closed his eyes for 1 second. Then opened them again. Copy. Nathan suddenly pointed toward the navigation screen. We've lost part of his transponder. The altitude reading blinked. Then disappeared. Only the emergency beacon remained. Nathan looked worried. We're losing him. Elena answered calmly. No. We're losing his electronics. Not the pilot. She pressed the radio switch again. Liam. I'm here. Read your standby instruments. He looked down. I've still got compass. Basic altitude. And airspeed. Good. Everything else? Gone. Maya continued checking Liam's condition. Liam. Yeah. Do your fingers feel numb? My left ones. What about your feet? A little. Vision. He blinked several times. A little blurry. Maya quietly wrote another note. Possible concussion worsening. Cold stress. Smoke exposure. Blood loss. None of it was improving. Ethan entered the cockpit from the cargo compartment. The medical cargo is secure. Elena nodded. Good. He looked toward the radar. Looks ugly. It is. You planning to go through that? I'm planning to go around enough of it. He smiled. You always answer like that? Only when someone asks dangerous questions. Ethan laughed before returning to the cargo hold. Even during moments like these. Someone had to keep morale alive. Nathan checked another weather update. His face changed. The storm just expanded again. How much? Almost 20 more miles. Maya looked forward. Can we still reach him? Elena answered honestly. We have to. No one questioned that answer. The emergency radio suddenly crackled. Liam's breathing became uneven. Then, a painful cough. Maya leaned forward. Liam. No answer. Liam. Another cough. Then, I blacked out. Nathan's eyes widened. For how long? Liam answered slowly. I don't know. Elena immediately took control. Liam. Listen carefully. Can you hear my voice? Yes. Good. Stay with me. She kept talking. Not because she needed information. Because silence could be deadly. A pilot drifting into unconsciousness often never realized it. Liam. Tell me your daughter's name. Emma. How old? 7. Good. What color is her backpack? There was a pause. Then. Purple. What cartoons does she watch? He smiled weakly. Too many. Nathan looked confused. Why ask those questions now? Maya quietly whispered, he's thinking. As long as he's thinking. He's awake. Nathan finally understood. The cargo aircraft descended slightly. Nathan checked the radar altitude. We're getting lower. We need visual contact. What altitude? 5,000. He adjusted the aircraft. Clouds swallowed them immediately. Rain intensified. The windshield looked almost white. Visibility dropped dramatically. Nathan struggled to see anything. How do you fly through this? Elena never looked away from the instruments. You don't fly what you see. You fly what you know. Several minutes passed. Then, the cloud layer suddenly became thinner. A small opening appeared. Nathan looked through it. For the first time, he saw the Atlantic Ocean. Dark. Violent. Huge waves rolled beneath them. White foam disappeared into endless darkness. He swallowed hard. I hate flying over water. Elena quietly replied. Everyone does. The radio came alive again. Liam. I'm losing hydraulics. Nathan quickly searched emergency procedures. If hydraulic pressure reaches 0, he'll barely be able to control roll. Elena already knew. Liam. I need honest answers. I'll try. How heavy are your controls? They're fighting me. Can you still turn? Slowly. Good. Then don't overcorrect. Lightning exploded nearby. For one terrifying second the entire ocean became visible. Then darkness returned. Nathan looked toward the weather display. The storm cell is almost on top of us. We're staying ahead of it. For how long? As long as we need. 21 miles. Then 19. Then 17. The emergency marker continued moving. Slowly. Steadily. But something else caught Nathan's attention. Major. The fighter's descent rate is increasing. Elena checked the numbers. He was right. Liam was losing altitude faster now. Much faster. She immediately called him. Liam. Current altitude. About 4,800. Nathan looked at the data. Actual signal says 41. His instruments. Or his brain. Were no longer reliable. Maya spoke gently. Liam. I need you to slow your breathing again. I'm trying. No. I need you to follow me. She counted. In. 2. 3. Hold. Out. Again. He followed. Again. His breathing improved. Nathan suddenly leaned forward. I've got something. What? A heat signature. Elena looked toward the weather display. A faint infrared return. Small. Weak. Barely visible through the rain. It disappeared. Then returned. Nathan smiled. That's him. Distance. 12 miles. Everyone inside the cockpit became completely focused. The rescue was no longer theoretical. It had become real. Very real. Elena slowly disconnected the autopilot. Her hands wrapped around the controls once again. The heavy cargo aircraft responded immediately. Nathan noticed. You think we'll see him soon? Elena answered quietly. If he stays airborne. No one spoke after that. Outside. The Atlantic continued roaring beneath the storm. Inside one damaged fighter jet. A wounded pilot fought to remain conscious. Inside one cargo aircraft. For strangers refused to give up on someone they had never met. And ahead of them, the most dangerous part of the night had only just begun. The rescue aircraft pushed deeper into the storm. The cockpit lights reflected softly across the windshield while rain slammed against the glass with incredible force. The entire airplane vibrated. Not because of engine problems. Because nature itself was fighting them. Elena tightened her grip on the control yoke. Her eyes never left the instruments. Nathan kept watching the navigation display. Distance. 11 miles. Every mile mattered. Every second mattered even more. The injured fighter pilot had already lost too much altitude. If they arrived even a few minutes late, there might be nobody left to rescue. Liam. Elena spoke calmly over the emergency frequency. Can you still hear me? A few seconds passed before the answer came. Barely. His voice sounded weaker than before. Much weaker. Maya immediately leaned closer to her microphone. Liam. Stay with us. I'm trying. No. You are staying with us. For the first time in several minutes. No joke came from Liam. Only breathing. Slow. Painful. Uneven breathing. Nathan suddenly frowned. The descent rate just increased again. Elena looked. He was right. The fighter was now falling nearly twice as fast. Liam. Check your airspeed. Silence. Then. I can't. What do you mean? My screen went black. Nathan looked toward Elena. He just lost another display. The cockpit became completely quiet. Every warning sign was becoming worse. Electrical failures. Hydraulic failures. Smoke damage. Pilot injuries. Night. Storm. Ocean. It was almost impossible to imagine a worse situation. Elena looked outside. Nothing. Only darkness. Then, for less than half a second, lightning illuminated the clouds. Nathan suddenly pointed. There. What? I saw something. Elena immediately looked toward the same direction. Nothing. Only rain. Nathan adjusted the weather radar. I think that was him. Direction? 1 o'clock. Elena gently banked the aircraft. Only 2 degrees. No sudden movement. The heavy transport aircraft answered slowly. Maya continued speaking. Liam. What color is Emma's backpack? Purple. What did she eat before you left home? Another pause. Pancakes. With chocolate chips. Nathan smiled quietly. He finally understood. Every question forced Liam to think. Every answer kept him connected to reality. As long as he answered, he was still fighting. Without warning. A loud alarm echoed through the cockpit. Beep. 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 Nathan immediately checked the panel. Ice accumulation. Outside temperature had dropped rapidly. Moisture froze along the wings. Elena switched on the anti-ice systems. Warm air rushed through the leading edges. The warning disappeared. Nathan released a breath. That was close. Elena answered quietly. No. Close comes later. Inside the cargo compartment, Ethan felt another violent jolt. One restraint chain rattled loudly. He immediately walked toward it. One medical container had shifted slightly. Not enough to break loose. Enough to worry him. He tightened another locking mechanism. Then another. Everything held. He pressed the intercom. Cargo secure. Good, Elena answered. Stay strapped in. You expecting rougher air? Yes. How rough? You'll know. The aircraft continued descending beneath the cloud layer. Visibility slowly improved. Only slightly. Nathan finally saw the Atlantic again. Huge black waves rolled beneath them. Foam glowed white whenever lightning flashed. He swallowed hard. I've never seen water look like that. Elena answered quietly. The ocean doesn't care who you are. Liam. She called again. What do you see? Nothing. No lights. Wait. Silence. I think. Another pause. I see lightning. Anything else? No. Elena looked toward Nathan. He still can't see us. Distance. 8 miles. Nathan adjusted another display. Then suddenly. There. This time everyone saw it. Far ahead. A tiny blinking light. Almost invisible. Appearing. Disappearing. Appearing again. Nathan's heartbeat increased. That's him. Maya leaned forward. I've got him too. Elena never celebrated. She simply asked, distance? 7.3 miles. Liam. Elena spoke again. I need you to answer one question. Go ahead. Can you still move the aircraft? A long silence followed. Finally. I think. The aircraft is moving me. Those words hit everyone inside the cockpit. Nathan slowly looked toward Elena. Hydraulic failure had reached the critical stage. The airplane was barely responding anymore. Maya spoke softly. Liam. I need complete honesty. I'm trying. Can you feel your left arm? Not really. Both legs. My right. The left. Weak. She closed her notebook. She already knew. Internal injuries were becoming worse. Possibly blood loss. Possibly shock. Possibly both. Nathan suddenly noticed another problem. The storms closing behind him. Elena looked. Dark clouds were surrounding the fighter. If Liam disappeared inside them again, finding him visually could become impossible. Liam, I need you to turn on every external light you still have. Several seconds passed. I think. They're already on. Nathan searched ahead. Then. A tiny white flash appeared. Again. Then another. There. This time the blinking light remained visible. Barely. But enough. Elena gently lowered the aircraft. Nathan watched the radar altitude. 4,000. 3,800. The cargo aircraft continued descending. Slowly. Carefully. Another flash of lightning filled the sky. For the first time. Everyone saw him clearly. The fighter jet appeared below the clouds. Smoke trailed behind it. Its nose pointed slightly downward. One wing trembled. Nathan stared in disbelief. My God. The airplane looked barely controllable. Elena immediately grabbed the microphone. Liam. I've got you. Silence. Then. A weak answer. I see. Your lights. For the first time that night. Neither aircraft was alone anymore. One wounded fighter. One determined cargo crew. Separated by only a few miles. Connected by a single radio. And by one shared goal. Survive. The two aircraft were finally within sight of each other. Only a few miles separated them. But those few miles still felt like an ocean. Rain continued to pour across the Atlantic while lightning flashed around both airplanes. Nathan locked his eyes on the damaged fighter. I've got visual contact. Elena nodded. Don't lose him. I won't. She knew better than to celebrate. Seeing the aircraft was only the beginning. Keeping it alive was the real challenge. Blueheart, if this story has your heart racing, take 1 second to like, subscribe, and share. Your support helps us create more original stories like this. Liam. Elena's voice remained calm. Can you maintain your current heading? A few seconds passed. I think so. Don't chase our lights. I'm trying not to. Good. You fly your airplane. We'll stay with you. Nathan quietly smiled. Every word Elena spoke carried confidence. Not false hope. Real confidence. The kind that came only after thousands of hours in the sky. Another violent burst of turbulence shook both aircraft. Nathan watched the fighter suddenly drop several hundred feet. He's sinking. I see it. Liam. Correct gently. Trying. The fighter slowly climbed again. Its movements were sluggish. Almost delayed. Nathan whispered. He's barely controlling it. Maya leaned toward the radio. Liam. Stay with my voice. Okay. I need another answer. What color are Emma's shoes? A weak laugh came through the headset. Pink. With little stars. Perfect. Nathan looked back. Maya smiled. He remembered. The cargo aircraft moved closer. Distance. 3 miles. The damaged fighter became easier to see. Its left engine looked normal. Its right engine showed burn marks near the exhaust. One access panel had partially torn away. Smoke still escaped into the night. Nathan couldn't believe it was still flying. Suddenly every radio became silent. Nathan frowned. Lost transmission. Liam. No answer. Liam respond. Only static. The cockpit grew tense. Nathan checked the emergency beacon. It's still transmitting. So his radio failed. Maybe. Elena wasn't convinced. Or he passed out. No one wanted to hear those words. Nathan searched the darkness. I still see his lights. The fighter continued flying. But something wasn't right. It isn't correcting anymore. Elena immediately noticed. The nose is dropping. Slowly. Almost unnoticed. The fighter had entered a shallow descent. Without radio contact. Without visible corrections. Without any sign the pilot was awake. Liam. Still nothing. Maya spoke loudly. Liam. Static. Nathan's heart raced. If he's unconscious. Elena reached toward another radio. She switched to guard frequency. Liam Walker. Her voice changed. It became stronger. Sharper. Listen to me. No answer. Then. She spoke one single word. Shadow. Nathan looked toward her. The cockpit became completely silent. Several seconds passed. Then. A weak voice returned. Who said that? Elena didn't answer the question. Liam. Keep flying. The wounded pilot sounded confused. How? Do you know that word? We'll talk later. Right now. You stay alive. Nathan glanced toward Elena. He had never heard her speak like that before. Not once. Distance. 2 miles. The fighter suddenly rolled left. 30 degrees. Then 40. Nathan shouted. He's losing it. Elena immediately matched the turn. The cargo aircraft stayed close enough for Liam to see their lights. Liam. Level your wings. Trying. The damaged fighter slowly responded. Its wings returned almost level. Barely. But enough. Nathan watched another warning appear. Fuel imbalance. Ours. No. His. The fighter's remaining fuel was feeding unevenly. One wing now carried significantly more weight. Another problem. Another emergency. Another reason he couldn't afford a mistake. Maya suddenly noticed something. Liam. Yeah. Your speech sounds clearer. I can see your lights. Good. Keep looking at us. There. He paused. Steady. Exactly. Follow our pace. The storm grew louder. Lightning exploded around both aircraft. For one terrifying second. Nathan saw the fighter completely illuminated. The aircraft looked terrible. Scorch marks covered the fuselage. One stabilizer had visible damage. Several inspection panels were missing. Rain poured through torn metal edges. He whispered, I don't know how it's still flying. Elena answered quietly. Because he refuses to quit. Air traffic control returned once again. Atlas 4-1. This is military operations. State your intentions immediately. Nathan looked toward Elena. She pressed the microphone. We have visual contact with the distressed aircraft. You are ordered to disengage. No. Major Carter, this is a direct order. Nathan froze. The controller had called Elena by name. Until now. They had only used her call sign. Elena's expression didn't change. Our mission has changed. You are carrying life-saving medical cargo. So is he. Silence filled the radio. Then the controller answered coldly. Continue at your own responsibility. The transmission ended. Nathan slowly turned toward Elena. They know you. She didn't respond. Not yet. Without warning. Liam spoke again. His voice sounded stronger than before. Elena. Nathan looked surprised. He had never heard Liam use her first name. Have we met before? Another long silence. Finally. Elena and Sued. Many years ago. I knew. I recognized your voice. Nathan looked between them. Questions filled his mind. But this wasn't the time. Not while one aircraft was still barely staying in the air. Ahead. The coastline was still far away. The storm showed no mercy. And somewhere in the darkness, two high-speed radar contacts had just appeared, closing rapidly toward both aircraft. Nathan stared at the tactical display. Major. We're no longer alone. Nathan's eyes stayed locked on the tactical display. Two fast-moving radar contacts were approaching from the northwest. They're closing fast. Elena glanced at the screen. Speed? Over 900 knots. Maya looked between them. Commercial aircraft? Nathan shook his head. No airline flies like that. Seconds later, the radio came alive. Atlas 4-1, this is Guardian 1. We have your position. Nathan looked confused. Guardian? Elena answered immediately. Guardian 1, Atlas 4-1. We copy. We are 2 minutes out. Nathan zoomed in on the radar. His heartbeat quickened. They're fighters. Elena answered without emotion. You two. Nathan couldn't stay silent. You know him. Elena kept looking forward. We flew together. When? A long time ago. Guardian Lead laughed softly over the radio. Long enough for everyone to think we'd disappeared. Nathan frowned. Disappeared? What did that mean? Before anyone could ask, Guardian Lead spoke again. We'll discuss history later. Right now our priority is Captain Walker. Guardian 2 continued observing Liam's fighter. His voice suddenly became serious. Lead. I'm seeing hydraulic fluid. Heavy leak. Nathan checked their display. What does that mean? Elena answered quietly. He won't have much control left. The damaged fighter suddenly shuddered. Its right wing dipped sharply. Guardian 2 reacted instantly. Walker. Correct left. Liam slowly responded. The wing leveled again. Barely. Nathan watched in amazement. The fighter pilot beside Liam predicted every movement before it happened. Years of experience. Years of trust. Years of flying together. Distance to the nearest coastline. 93 miles. Nathan looked at the number. His stomach tightened. That's too far. Nobody disagreed. Military operations returned on the radio. Guardian Flight. You are authorized to escort. No engagement authority. Search and rescue assets remain 30 minutes away. Guardian Lead replied calmly. Copy. Then he added something unexpected. 30 minutes is a lifetime tonight. The controller remained silent. No one argued. Inside Liam's cockpit, warning alarms continued screaming. Fuel low. Hydraulic pressure. Electrical failure. Fire system fault. Almost every warning light remained active. Liam blinked several times. His vision blurred again. He struggled to focus on the lights ahead. The cargo aircraft. The two fighters. They looked almost unreal. He whispered, I thought I'd die alone. Guardian 2 answered immediately. Not tonight. Maya spoke gently. Liam, stay with us. Trying. Tell me something. What? What are you going to do with Emma after you get home? A long silence followed. Finally. I'm taking her. Camping. Where? The mountains. What will you teach her? Fishing. His breathing slowed. His voice became steadier. Maya smiled. Good. Keep thinking about that trip. Nathan suddenly noticed Elena staring toward Guardian Lead. Not at the aircraft. At the pilot. Almost as if memories had returned. He quietly asked, what was Shadow? No answer. A few moments later, Guardian Lead answered instead. It wasn't a place. It was a promise. Nathan looked confused. A promise. The fighter pilot continued. A promise that no one gets left behind. Silence filled every radio. Even Liam seemed to stop breathing for a second. Without warning, Guardian 2 shouted, Bird strike! Everyone looked up. A large flock of seabirds burst from the storm. At night. Completely unexpected. The birds scattered in every direction. One struck Guardian 2's canopy. Another hit Liam's damaged wing. The fighter lurched violently. Nathan gasped. Liam! The aircraft rolled nearly 40 degrees. Smoke thickened. Hydraulic pressure dropped again. Guardian 2 stayed beside him. Easy. Easy. Don't fight it. Liam slowly corrected. The aircraft leveled once more. Barely. Nathan checked the fuel calculations again. His face turned pale. Major. If we continue, we won't have enough fuel to reach our planned destination. Elena already knew. We'll divert after the rescue. Nathan nodded. Every calculation now depended on one thing: keeping Liam alive long enough to reach land. The storm slowly began breaking apart. Clouds opened slightly. Moonlight finally reached the ocean. For the first time all night, everyone could clearly see the damaged fighter. Nathan whispered, "I can't believe it's still flying." Guardian Lead answered, "Neither can the engineers." A few pilots laughed quietly. Even Liam managed a weak smile. For just a brief moment, the fear inside every cockpit became hope. But only for a moment. Because at that exact second, Guardian 2's radar warning receiver screamed. A sharp alarm echoed through every headset. The fighter pilot's voice instantly changed. "Lead. I'm painting another aircraft." Nathan checked the display. 1 contact. Then 2. Then 4. None of them were broadcasting identification. And they were heading straight toward the formation. 4 unidentified aircraft closed in through the thinning clouds. Nathan stared at the tactical display. "They're moving fast." Guardian Lead answered immediately. "I see them." Guardian 2 stayed locked beside Liam's crippled fighter. No identification signals. No radio calls. Military operations returned at once. Guardian Flight, be advised. We have no scheduled aircraft in your sector. Nathan looked at Elena. "Who are they?" Elena's eyes never left the instruments. "We don't know. And until we do, we prepare for anything." The unidentified aircraft continued closing. 30 miles. 25. 20. Guardian Lead switched frequencies. "Unknown aircraft approaching from the northwest. You are entering an active emergency rescue corridor. Identify yourselves." Silence. Only static answered. Nathan's heartbeat quickened. "They're ignoring us." Guardian Lead tried again. "This is Guardian Lead. Respond immediately." Still nothing. Inside Liam's cockpit, another warning alarm sounded. His remaining hydraulic pressure dropped again. The control stick suddenly felt heavier. He pulled with all the strength he had left. The fighter answered. Slowly. Too slowly. "I'm losing response." Guardian 2 stayed calm. "I know. Use gentle corrections." "I'm trying." "You're doing fine." Every reassuring word mattered. Liam was no longer flying with strength. He was flying with determination. Nathan checked the weather. The storm is finally breaking. Small gaps appeared between the clouds. Moonlight reflected across the ocean below. For the first time all night, the formation became clearly visible. The cargo aircraft. 2 F-22 fighters. 1 crippled jet barely staying airborne. Then, the 4 unknown aircraft emerged from the clouds. Nathan immediately zoomed his display. "They're military." Guardian Lead studied them carefully. No weapons lock. No aggressive maneuvering. Military operations transmitted again. Guardian Flight. "We've identified the contacts." Everyone waited. "They're friendly." Nathan finally exhaled. "What are they?" Guardian Lead smiled. "KC-46 support package." Nathan blinked. "Tankers." "Exactly. 2 aerial refueling tankers. Escorted by 2 additional fighters. They weren't coming to fight. They were coming to keep everyone in the air." Hope returned to every cockpit. The lead tanker checked in. "Guardian Flight. We're here to support." Guardian Lead answered. "Perfect timing." Nathan quietly smiled. For the first time that night, the odds had shifted, but the celebration lasted only seconds. Guardian 2's voice became urgent. "Lead, Walker just lost another system." Nathan looked toward Liam's fighter. Its exterior lights suddenly flickered. Then, half of them went dark. Only one dim navigation light remained. Liam spoke slowly. "I've lost electrical power." Maya immediately leaned toward her microphone. "Liam, stay focused. I need you with us." "I'm here. Tell me, what's Emma's favorite animal?" A long pause. "Sea turtles." "Why?" "Because she says they never quit swimming." Maya smiled. "Then neither will you." Elena watched the damaged fighter carefully. Something wasn't right. Its nose dipped again. Only slightly, but enough. "Liam, trim up." "Trying." No response. The aircraft kept descending. Guardian 2 moved even closer. "Walker, pull gently." After several painful seconds, the nose rose. Only a few degrees. Enough to stop the descent. Nathan quietly whispered, "He almost lost it." Elena answered, "He caught it." The tanker aircraft established a holding pattern ahead. Military operations proposed a plan. Guardian flight. Escort the distressed fighter toward Coastal Air Station Delta. Nathan quickly checked the map. "That's the closest runway." Guardian lead replied, "Runway length? 11,000 feet. Emergency cruise?" Already responding. Elena finally spoke. "We're taking him there." As the formation turned toward the coast, Liam's breathing became steadier. He could now see the flashing lights of the aircraft around him. He wasn't alone anymore. Not in the storm. Not in the darkness. Not in the fight. Nathan looked out the side window. Far ahead, a faint glow appeared on the horizon. The coastline. Everyone inside the cockpit smiled. It was still far away, but it was there. A reminder that the longest night eventually ends. Elena looked at the distant lights without changing her expression. "Don't celebrate yet." Nathan nodded. "Because landing is the hardest part." Elena answered quietly, "For him. For all of us." The runway lights were still many miles away. Liam's damaged aircraft was still barely controllable, and no one in the formation knew whether the landing gear would even extend when the time came. The final and most dangerous chapter of the rescue was about to begin. The first lights of the coastline shimmered through the rain. No one in the formation celebrated. They had reached land, but the most dangerous part of the mission was still ahead. Nathan checked the navigation display. 28 miles to Coastal Air Station Delta. Guardian lead replied immediately, "We'll clear the airspace." Military operations answered, "Runway 27 is closed to all traffic. Emergency services are standing by. Crash crews are in position." Elena nodded quietly. "Good." Everything now depended on one pilot. One damaged fighter. One landing. "Liam." Elena spoke softly. "Can you still hear me?" "Yes." His voice sounded exhausted, but alive. "How's the aircraft?" A weak laugh came over the radio. "I've flown better." Guardian 2 smiled. "So have we. Even after hours of fear." Someone still found room for humor. Sometimes laughter kept people alive. Nathan checked another warning. The runway weather is getting worse. Heavy rain. Strong crosswinds. Low visibility. He looked toward Elena. "Crosswind 28 knots." She nodded. "I expected that." "What if he can't line up?" "We'll help him." "What if his landing gear won't extend?" Elena didn't answer immediately. She already knew the possibilities. Manual extension. Emergency procedures. Or no gear at all. Maya contacted Liam again. "Liam, I need you to stay awake just a little longer." "I'm trying." "What are you going to eat after this?" He smiled weakly. "The biggest cheeseburger in the country." Guardian lead laughed. "I'll buy it." Guardian 2 joined in. "I'll buy dessert." For a few seconds, the fear became hope again. Military operations transmitted. "Walker, you are cleared direct to runway 27. Guardian lead interrupted. "Negative." The controller paused. "Explain." "We're not rushing him." Nathan looked surprised. Guardian lead continued. One slow orbit. We inspect the aircraft. Then we commit. Several seconds passed. Finally. Approved. The entire formation began a slow circle above the coastline. Emergency vehicles could already be seen below. Red lights. Blue lights. Ambulances. Fire trucks. Rescue crews. Everyone waited. Guardian 2 carefully moved beneath Liam's aircraft. He examined every section. Left wing. Right wing. Engine. Landing gear doors. Then. His voice became serious. Lead. I've got a problem. Everyone became silent. What do you see? The nose landing gear is still inside. Nathan's heart sank. He hasn't lowered it? Guardian 2 answered. He probably can't. Liam. Elena immediately called. I need you to lower your landing gear. Several seconds passed. I already did. Nathan looked at Elena. He thinks it's down. Guardian 2 answered. It isn't. Silence filled every radio. Nathan quickly opened the emergency checklist. Manual extension procedure. Liam listened carefully. His breathing remained slow. His voice weaker than ever. I found the handle. Pulling now. Everyone waited. Nothing happened. Guardian 2 watched carefully. No movement. Liam pulled harder. Still nothing. Guardian Lead quietly spoke. Try rocking the aircraft. Elena immediately disagreed. Negative. He barely has hydraulic control. Guardian Lead sighed. I know. But we're running out of options. Liam gently rolled left. Then right. A loud metallic sound echoed inside his cockpit. Guardian 2 watched closely. Wait. I've got movement. Everyone held their breath. The left landing gear extended. Locked. The right landing gear followed. Locked. Only the nose gear remained inside. Halfway. Stuck. Nathan whispered, come on. No one moved. No one even breathed. Maya quietly spoke into the microphone. Liam. I need one more favor. Anything. When you land. I want you thinking about Emma. He smiled. I already am. Guardian 2 continued watching. The nose gear moved. Just a little. Nathan leaned closer to the windshield. Can he shake it loose? Elena answered. Maybe. But every attempt increases the risk. Military operations transmitted again. Emergency crews are prepared for a nose gear collapse. Nathan looked down toward the runway. Hundreds of flashing lights waited below. Fire foam trucks had already covered sections of the runway. Ambulances stood ready. Rescue firefighters waited beside their vehicles. Everyone expected the worst. Everyone hoped for the best. Guardian Lead quietly called Elena. Shadow. She looked toward his aircraft. I never thought we'd fly together again. She smiled for the first time that night. Neither did I. Nathan finally understood. Shadow wasn't a mission. It wasn't a squadron. It was a family. A group of pilots who had once promised each other something simple. No one gets left behind. Tonight. That promise had returned. Below them. Runway lights stretched into the darkness. Ahead. One damaged fighter prepared for the hardest landing of its pilot's life. And inside every cockpit. The same silent prayer filled every heart. Just a few more minutes. Just one safe landing. Just one more chance to go home. The entire formation lined up with runway 27. Rain continued falling. The runway shimmered beneath thousands of white lights. Emergency vehicles stood on both sides. Firefighters waited. Doctors waited. Rescue crews waited. Everyone watched one damaged fighter struggling to stay in the air. No one spoke. Every radio remained silent. Only the sound of engines filled the darkness. Guardian Lead finally broke the silence. Liam. It's your runway. Liam answered quietly. I see it. His breathing was slow. Weak. But steady. Elena spoke next. You've done everything right. Now let the airplane land. Liam smiled faintly. I'll try. No. Elena corrected him. You will. Nathan watched every instrument. Speed stable. Altitude. 1500. Guardian 2 remained only a few hundred feet away. I'm staying with him. Guardian Lead answered, so am I. The cargo aircraft remained behind both fighters. Elena refused to leave. Not now. Not after everything. Military operations cleared the runway. Walker. You are cleared to land. No traffic. No restrictions. The runway is yours. Liam whispered, copy. The fighter slowly descended. 1,000 feet. 800. 600. Nathan stared through the windshield. The damaged aircraft looked fragile. Almost broken. Its right wing still carried black burn marks. Its nose gear remained stuck halfway inside the fuselage. Every person watching knew what that meant. The landing would not be normal. Guardian 2 called out. 500. Looking good. Liam barely answered. I've got it. Guardian Lead added, stay smooth. No saben directions. The runway lights grew larger. Closer. Closer still. Nathan suddenly noticed something. Major. The nose gear. Everyone looked. The vibration from the descent had begun shaking the aircraft. The half-extended nose gear trembled violently. Then, without warning, there was a loud metallic snap. Guardian 2 shouted, it's moving. The gear slowly continued downward. Everyone watched in complete silence. Another vibration. Another loud bang. Then, the nose gear locked completely into place. 3 green lights appeared inside Liam's cockpit. He stared at them. For a second. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. I've got. He stopped. Emotion filled his voice. I've got 3 green. The entire radio network erupted. Guardian Lead laughed. That's what I wanted to hear. Guardian 2 shouted. Beautiful. Nathan pumped his fist into the air. Yes. Even Elena closed her eyes for one brief second. The airplane had one final chance. Liam. Elena spoke softly. Finish it. The fighter crossed the runway threshold. 50 feet. 40. 30. 20. 10. The main landing gear touched first. A small puff of white smoke appeared behind the tires. The aircraft remained perfectly straight. Slowly. Very slowly. The nose lowered. Everyone held their breath. The nose will touch the runway. It bounced once. Twice. Then rolled smoothly forward. No collapse. No sparks. No fire. Just a perfect landing. Cheers exploded across every radio. Firefighters raised their arms. Mechanics clapped. Air traffic controllers smiled inside the tower. Nathan leaned back into his seat. I can't believe it. Elena quietly answered. I can. The fighter rolled safely to the end of the runway before finally stopping. Emergency crews surrounded it within seconds. Engines shut down. The canopy slowly opened. Cold rain entered the cockpit. Rescue medics climbed onto the aircraft. They carefully helped Liam out. His legs almost gave way. 2 firefighters caught him before he could fall. As the stretcher rolled toward the ambulance, Liam looked back into the sky. The cargo aircraft made one slow pass over the runway. Behind it flew the 2 F-22s. 3 aircraft. 1 formation. 1 promise kept. 1 hour later. The storm had finally passed. The rain became light. Inside the military hospital, doctors worked quietly around Liam. Maya stood outside the operating room. After what felt like forever, a surgeon stepped into the hallway. He'll recover. Everyone released the breath they had been holding all night. Nathan smiled. Ethan leaned against the wall in relief. Guardian Lead quietly removed his cap. Elena simply closed her eyes. Another life had been saved. The next morning, sunlight covered the airfield. The damaged fighter sat inside a maintenance hangar. Engineers walked around it in disbelief. One of them shook his head. This aircraft should never have made it home. An older mechanic smiled. It didn't. The pilot did. Later that afternoon, Elena quietly entered Liam's hospital room. He looked tired. His left arm rested in a sling. Bandages covered part of his forehead. But he smiled. I knew it was you. Elena pulled a cair closer. I recognized your voice. Liam laughed softly. I never thought I'd hear the word shadow again. She nodded. Neither did I. Nathan, standing outside the room, finally understood there was a history far older than this mission. After a few minutes he knocked gently. Mind if I come in? Liam smiled. Of course. Nathan looked between them. So, what exactly was shadow? Liam looked at Elena. She nodded. He answered. Years ago, we were part of a small experimental rescue squadron. Our aircraft were different. Our missions were different. But every pilot made one promise. Nathan already knew the answer. No one gets left behind. Liam smiled. Exactly. 3 weeks later, the cargo aircraft returned to Falcon Air Base. Maintenance crews welcomed it home. As Elena climbed down the ladder, Nathan handed her a small envelope. It came this morning. She opened it. Inside was a child's drawing. A fighter jet. A cargo plane. 2 smaller fighters. All flying together beneath a bright blue sky. At the bottom, written in careful handwriting, were the words, "Thank you for bringing my daddy home." Signed, Emma Walker. Elena stood silently for several seconds. Then she carefully folded the picture and placed it inside the same flight bag that still carried the old shadow patch. Some memories belonged in the past. Others deserved to fly forever. As the sun set over Falcon Air Base, 4 aircraft could be seen flying in formation across the golden sky. Not because they had been ordered to, but because some promises never expire. And some heroes are remembered not for the battles they fought, but for the lives they refused to leave behind.